You just have to accept the recording there. Just press the button, accept the recording. Dr. Brennan is on. I'll say hello to Dr. Brennan. Hi, Dr. Brennan. You should be able to unmute yourself.
Yeah, hi, Noel. How's
How you
everybody?
I don't think Rajvinder can join us tonight, and I don't see Chitrelli there. Oh, she is, yeah. Hi,
Hey.
Dr. Chitrelli. Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Yeah, how you doing?
Good to see you, Chitrali.
Good, good, good. So, actually, let's just see. There's one chat in there. Okay, so actually, I got some questions sent to me by email that I said to people that I'd asked first. So there are actually some interesting ones, you know. So one was from Fiona, and how best to treat Candida. So I don't know which one of you wants to take that.
Well, Candida generally refers to Candida in the gut, and the gut is protected by its own microbiome, and the microbiome of primitive peoples, as they're called, which are people who live according to their ancient traditions, is generally incredibly healthy, with a vast range and array of different bacteria that work together to...
Okay, sorry, I'm just going to mute everybody. Don, you might have to unmute yourself there. There's somehow there's some interference coming in there.
She said I'm doing
Okay.
garden.
So now, Don, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Sorry about that.
So by contrast, the microbiome of people today is a lot more limited. And for a lot of people, the microbiome is not very healthy. And there's a lot of different things that can disturb the gut bacteria. I mean, the stress in your life can have a profound impact on your gut bacteria, for example, which you mightn't anticipate, but it's a fact. And the diet that people have is particularly processed foods with all the added chemicals are very disruptive to the gut and to the microbiome. But it's also the lack of the food for a healthy microbiome, which is the fiber in the diet. And then you have the complication of all the medicines that people take. A lot of the medicines, you think of your Nurofen, you know, your painkillers off the shelf. You think of your antacid. You think of your steroids, you think of your antibiotics, and they, you know, completely are disruptive and destructive of the healthy microbiome. And then, you know, you also have a situation where ladies are increasingly over the last generation, 2 generations, having cesarean sections. And that is very inhibitive of the microbiome of the baby, because it's actually on the passage through, on the birth passage, because of the great efforts of the lady. And there's fecal contamination in the area. And that's the first time the baby is exposed to bacteria. And so it picks up from its mother on the way through the birth canal and at birth. The initial flora or range of bacteria that, you know, it swallows and becomes the baby's microbiome. But of course, with cesarean section, the baby hasn't got that exposure. And so there are many, many reasons why the microbiome is now disrupted. And when you think of the purpose of the microbiome and the effects it has in our bodies, it's extraordinary. It's terribly important. I mean, its first purpose is to control all the bad bacteria and keep them from getting a foothold in the gut. Its second function is to protect the lining of the gut. So the lining of the intestines and the colon is only a cell thick, and it's what prevents the ingress or the absorption of all the toxins that are in the gut and all the bad viruses, bacteria. It's only a cell thick. And so very important for the maintenance of that is our microbiome. So if the microbiome is not of a great range, and have a good variety of bacteria, then bad bacteria get a foothold. Bad bacteria, particularly fed by sugar and by a very carbohydrate copper poor diet. So the bad bacteria destroy the lining of the gut and create an ingress or an absorption then of materials which shouldn't get in. Also, Candida, a fungi, starts to get a hold. And this Candida then grows in the gut and forms a network that actually penetrates through the walls of the gut and even, allows the absorption then of Candida and of viruses and of bad bacteria and of all sorts of toxins in the gut. And that's where the health starts to deteriorate. The microbiome has a very powerful effect on your brain. It produces 80% or 90% of the serotonin, which is your happy hormone. It creates other chemicals, which are chemicals that the brain uses as you think. It controls your hormones, your estrogen, your testosterone. It has a very powerful impact on your immune system. So with the development of candidosis, people's ability to digest, absorb, metabolize starts to get more disrupted. So energy drops and any sort of symptoms can start to arise. So it just brings to your awareness the necessity of having a really good microbiome by avoiding the chemicals and unnecessary medicines and taking a good fiber-rich diet with at least 30 plants in your diet every week, ongoing, to support it. And they're the traditional mechanisms of foods like the lassi in the Ayurveda context. In France, it would have been the fermented cheeses. In various cultures, there were different formats for having bacteria in the diet to nourish the microbiome. So
that's a very comprehensive answer, Dr. Brennan. I can give you that much. So, I mean, basically we're saying healthy diet, healthy eating, stress management techniques, all the things that Ayurveda recommends is going to strengthen the biome and help prevent Candida. Is there any specific tablets that we have or any herbals in Ayurveda that we could recommend? Rajvinder's coming on there, I see.
Hello everyone.
Rajvinder.
You want to suggest something, Raj?
On Candida.
Me, I prefer MP6, which is it is quite a torture to take the powder.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. Some people find MP6 hard to take and Avipatica. I love them. I absolutely love them. I don't know why people find them so hard to take, but MP6 is it's got a lot of different herbs in it. So that would be good.
It's a great powder. It's a wonderful thing for your liver, for your gut, for everything. But it's very bitter if you can take it.
Yeah. Maybe that's because I'm pitta, because I like it. I don't know, the bitterness. Anyway, we're going to move on. So I think there's lots of information there for you, Fiona, And then Fiona had a second question. Any advice with regard to how to treat mast cell activation syndrome? I'm not even sure what it is.
Do you want me to answer or somebody else?
Yeah, if you want to, Raj, yeah.
Okay. Mast cell activation, we kind of related to pitta in Ayurveda. So probably the Sariva, Indian sarsaparilla, which is in one of our preparation, MADK2. You start with that, and then you kind of eliminate all the histamine, because mast cells are to mask the histamine in the body. When they are activated, the person gets swelling, like even for fermented food, they drink wine, alcohol, they swell up or they get very itchy. So you need to kind of look into pitta regime, pitta detox, pitta diet, so all of the pitta program. So it's kind of you have to be on a program where you eliminate all of the pitta increasing foods and go on the pitta diet, and probably you will be asked to do a pitta detox as well.
Okay, so that's fantastic. So both those questions were for Fiona. If you could just type those two herbs into the chat box, Rajvinder, the MP6 and the MADK2. And Dr. Brennan, I think that I mean, that's a brilliant start to our Q&A, because I think a lot of problems that people are going to have, we can just refer back to that talk, because The biome is absolutely, it's becoming more and more, the importance of it is becoming more and more recognized, so well done on that. So there's a special question here for you, Don. It's a friend of yours, Jeff Levy. And Jeff says he used to cook for you in the Baker Street TM Centre.
He did.
Jeff has a question that maybe a lot of people might be thinking about. He's an elderly man. Well, not that elderly. He's 75. He says it in the thing here, so I suppose there's no harm in me saying it. 75-year-old Ayurvedic technician extraordinaire. I'm sure he is. And his thing is that he's a 10-hour flight to Vancouver next month. And he's any advice for dealing with jet lag. And he says it might be relevant to this time of the year for a lot of people. And it probably is relevant to this time of the year. So like I often fly to India, fly to Mexico. That's a big flight. And jet lag is always a thing. So any advices, Dr. Brennan, that you would suggest?
I think, Jeff, lovely to hear from you, and thanks for all those wonderful meals. And Jeff is 75 years young, which is why he's globe-trotting. And nice to hear of a good holiday ahead for you, Jeff. And there are things you can do. First of all, remember it's a Vata provoking situation, so prepare to take good care of your Vata before, during, and after. So get your routine regular, get your good rest, do your oil massages coming up to it and the day you're traveling. Travel at with loads of time to spare, so you're very relaxed and you're not getting all stressed and worked up about the whole thing. Go in a very relaxed way. I think, as you're traveling, be aware that the Vata is highly provoked because you're airborne, and it's not a time for eating. And particularly if you see on the plane, the timing of meals can be absolutely ridiculous in relation to your normal routine of eating. You're better to eat very, very lightly or little at all. Of course, keep well hydrated because you don't want to get a DVT, deep vein thrombosis from the travel. Stand up and walk around a couple of times during the flight. I'd suggest to keep your veins pumping. And when you get there, again, get on your Vata regime, get the extra rest as best you can. There was also an issue of the timing, depending on whether the place you're going to is east or west, you'll be going against the sun or you'll be going with the sun. But it can be helpful to move your bedtime that bit earlier or that bit later, depending on which direction you're going. An hour and then another hour and then another hour before you go, so that your body is partially acclimatized to the new routine when you get there. And that can also assist your adjustment. Definitely, as soon as you get there, in the mornings and in the evenings, get out for a walk in the sun, even for 10-15 minutes, to get that sunlight, the quality of sunlight on your eyes and your pineal gland, because that's what's going to adjust your body clock. So get out for a walk early in the morning, get out for a walk before you go to bed, so that your body begins to recognize, oh my God, this is dusk. I should, be thinking about sleeping. So like that, it helps your adjustment.
Okay, Don, there's only one thing I'd add, and I'm sure you meant to say it anyway, and that's do your TM when you're flying.
Well done.
And
Yeah.
Jeff probably knows that anyway, So the TM, Maharishi once said, when you're flying, get on the plane, close your eyes, meditate, and don't open them until you stop, So that's hard to do though, but just do plenty of TM on the plane. And I've had it suggested to me, Don, before to eat garlic bread before flying.
I hadn't heard that one, Noel.
Okay, thin the blood slightly.
Oh, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Possibly, yeah.
The person beside you mightn't be so happy to be stuck beside you for 6 hours and you after eating a load of garlic bread. But I mean, anyway, I just heard that one. I wasn't too sure whether it was, but possibly makes sense. All right. Okay, so that's great. I have another question from Melina, but I will just deal with some of the ones on the chat here. So Ali says, is TM meditation the ultimate healing energy for disease in the body, and does it prevent a lot of ailments in later life? Thank you for the very informative Q&A. So I'll answer that one as a TM teacher. I can't say it's the ultimate healing energy. I definitely think it's a really, really brilliant system of meditation. I don't like to use the word ultimate, but it's fantastic. And from my perspective and from the scientific perspective, it definitely does prevent a lot of ailments in later life. TM helps you to live in tune with nature. It says anyone that has listened to any of Dr. Brennan's talks, he always starts with consciousness is all there is, okay? And TM is a fantastic means to enliven your own awareness and to become aware of that stillness inside of you. And, you know, like nearly bask in that law of stillness, or have a great appreciation for the existence of that stillness inside of you, which is not nothingness. It's fullness in some ways, and it's a very unique experience. And TM is a brilliant system of meditation for enable you to experience in that. And then obviously, because you do that, you give your mind deep rest, you give your body deep rest, you start to dissolve stress and strain. And the only reason we do things bad for ourselves anyway is because of stress. Why else would somebody, you know, animals don't go around generally hurting themselves, but human beings can do an awful lot of self-harm to themselves. And that's generally because the thinking has become distorted, and the thinking is distorted because of stresses and strains and out of tune with nature. So the answer to that would be an emphatic yes for helping with ailments later on in life. And I think there's over 500 research papers on TM, so you can look them up on any of the websites to show that that's the case. So Magno is next, and he has, I took only one anti-inflammatory tablet, giving me a stomach ache. Is there something I should do or eat or not to eat to improve? So you don't actually mention what was inflamed, Magno, and why you were taking it, but any anti-inflammatory foods?
His tummy got inflamed, because that's what anti-inflammatory tablets do. They're probably the worst offender in terms of the tablet with the most serious side effects, because they can cause ulcers and bleeding stomach, and they cause people a lot of illness. So it always amazes me they're over the counter. So these anti-inflammatory tablets always should be eaten after food, because the food lines the stomach, and that is a prevention. When doctors prescribe them now, they usually prescribe with omeprazole, which is to cut down the acid in the stomach to prevent any ulcers. But it just shows how to only take the anti-inflammatories if you absolutely need them. And I suppose what we would use is the acid balance to help, you know, the stomach if it has become inflamed.
MA575 or MA320. I suppose if you're very pitta, MA320 or MA575, yeah.
And taking them after the meals.
Yeah. And then probably a pitta reducing diet, Don?
If there is an ongoing situation, but if it's just provoked by the tablet and settles down, it may not be necessary.
Okay.
But coming into the summer, yeah.
Okay.
For everybody.
So one for Chitrali now, if she's still with us. This is from Abigail. With a kapha reducing diet and having more bitter and pungent foods, I find it stimulates my pitta and makes me hungrier. So it's hard to eat lightly when I'm trying to reduce kapha in the spring. Any tips for this, please? Dr. Chitrali, are you on? Or Rajvinder, if you want to take it. Oh, you are there, yeah.
Okay.
Was unmuted. Sorry, the connection is not that great at my side.
Okay.
So I'll just take this question. Yeah, that's really a good question. Like during this spring time, you might find like when you have different seasons, there will be aggravation of because there's more of hot in the surrounding. So what you can do is like balance more of green leafy vegetables, and then even cucumber and watermelon. Try to have these type of foods which are more water content and which will not increase kapha as well in the body, to have even water.
Okay, Dr. Chitrali, I'm finding it difficult to hear exactly what you're saying. So yeah, so I'm you know, and it's a pity because it sounds like great knowledge, but I mean it's
across.
Maybe you can type an answer in there to Abigail if you can see it there. If you could do that, Dr. Chatelli. I noticed it
said
says some pitta reducing foods, which would be good, you know.
She said focus more on the vegetables and don't take a fluid retention food like cucumber, that kind of things. Or maybe she said add that.
I think she said add cucumber.
Okay.
So maybe just type it into Abigail there, or to the whole group if you want. It may relate to other people as well, you know.
I can just add in my opinion. That's okay.
Yeah, you can. Dr. Chitelli, if you can fix your microphone, I'll come back to you. But otherwise, just send me a chat if you do, you know. Raj, go ahead.
Yeah, Abigail, it depends what is your main constitution. Are you more Vata or more Kapha? So look into that. So you may be more Vata than Kapha. If your Vata is going out as trying to have bitters, then moderate the amount of bitters you're taking. Yeah, you're Vata Pitta, then don't take huge amount of bitters, because if you're dominantly Vata, then your Vata definitely is gonna go out. So I will say decrease the amount. So it doesn't seem there's much kapha there anyway, unless you have a kapha issue going on. So just focus on, as Dr. Trali said, the seasonal vegetables and the seasonal food, and just a little bit more movement, extra movement. So that'll probably be enough for you.
Okay, so Gillian has a question about a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old boys who have difficulty getting to sleep. They're not from the same family, different families. They both want to chat. Now, I'm not sure whether that means online or actually just talking when they go to bed, and one even to himself if there is no one to chat to. Both can be quick-tempered. So they sound like Pitta children. So I don't know, Don, if you want to maybe have a go at that.
They're getting too excited. It might be that they're even going to bed a bit too late, and their Vata has come up. You know, what really helps is to settle the Vata with massage, even just to massage the soles of the feet in bed at night, or a little hot milk trick to settle their Vata. But make sure that they have a good regular routine, a regular bedtime, which is early. Well, Regvin, you probably will have an option to that.
I didn't get the question. I said they don't get to sleep. They chat a lot. Is that?
They're just very chatty at nighttime when they're going to bed. They're just chatting away.
Okay, maybe set extra time in the evening before you go to bed and have your conversations done. And depends on the age of the child. So the child come home from school, give him food and sit with the child for some time. How was his day and all that, so the chats are over. And then have a conversation with the child as well. Then it's the bedtime, so we need to get rest, we need to sleep. So a little bit of counseling you can do as a mother. And as Dr. Brennan suggests, if child is in the age that can take massage, then definitely do that. And so set the time for chat.
And it does sound like a Vata imbalance thing. And then maybe, you know, taking them out for a walk or something like that as well, getting them some exercise earlier in the evening might be good for helping them go to sleep, and making sure they're not on the computer or their phones or anything like that, or playing video games for too long, because all of that stuff is completely bad at arranging, you know. So getting them out and doing things, you know.
Unless the sleep is the issue.
Have to look at the whole lifestyle of the child to see what was going on there, you know.
Unless sleep is the issue. If this child is going to sleep after some time, then don't worry about it. It's normal. He's just looking for some attention from mom. So unless sleep is not happening at all, then you need to look into Vata balancing regime and all.
Yeah. You probably need more information on that one, really,
and try to reduce like sugar intake in the evening time for the kids. So that is also which might keep them
awake. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Good.
Okay, so this one is a long one. My elderly mother suffers from arrhythmia from time to time. She has a heart stimulator. Whenever arrhythmia occurs, she has to go to hospital, and within 24 hours gets electroshock therapy, and then she is okay for a few months. Are there any Ayurvedic measures she can take when arrhythmia occurs, and are there any precautions she can take in general? She's a strong Pitta, suffering from eczema, also insomnia. Taking ashwagandha. Oh, sorry, I've just lost the chat. Taking ashwagandha for her insomnia, it helps, but is it advisable? Unfortunately, she's unwilling to. I'm just some difficulty moving down to that chat. Unwilling to I'm not sure what she's unwilling to do. Let's see. Okay, she's unwilling. Unfortunately, she's unwilling to consult with an Ayurvedic doctor. Trusts in allopathic medicine only. I know it's a difficult case, but would be so thankful for any help. Well, she mightn't even listen to any advice given anyway. But anyway, if any of the doctors have, I mean, cardio support would be one thing I'd be thinking. But anyway, Rajvinder, do you want to?
Yeah, I was exactly thinking the same. Cardio support.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if the arrhythmia is happening, then you just support the heart health and just tell her it's just nothing in it, just a simple herb to strengthen the heart. If she's willing to do, I'm not sure what age the mom is, if she's willing to do a bit of self-massage or keep herself grounded through breathing exercises. Breathing exercises will be very good if you can train her to do even alternate nostril breathing. That will help. It's more oxygen to the brain, more oxygen to the heart will be good. And not sure she's able to do a little bit of walking, fresh air will be good. So stuff like that. And the diet, because diet is elderly people sometimes eat a lot of processed food, ready-made meals. So if it's possible to balance that with half fresh food, freshly cooked meal and things like that, that will be helpful. Hawthorn berries, which maybe not a Ayurveda thing, just a common thing a lot of people take. You can give her hawthorn supplement even.
Yeah, and yeah, so cardio support is MA1816, MA1816. So that might be an option for her. And then yeah, okay. And then maybe at some stage she might have a consultation with a doctor. But anyway, as you say.
I think as well as that, Rajvinder, what's the calcium bashma? There's a
Pravalapishti.
Pravalapishti.
Yeah, Pravalapishti. Or Muktapishti. Pravalapishti or Muktapishti, yeah.
Yeah, they could be very effective.
Yes,
You can actually get them on Amazon.
Yeah, okay. We'll type that in.
Yeah.
You're right, good.
And basically it's powder, and you unwrap it and place it under the tongue when you have one of these. And I actually had a doctor that came to India with us and developed one of these, and we gave him this medicine, and he was taking his pulse, and he just said it's gone, just completely resolved like that. But you know, it's worth a try for her, but you know, it's a Vata problem. When a Vata age, she has to do a lot to balance her Vata. She has to take responsibility for making changes in her life that will reduce the frequency of it, and while at the same time taking the tonics for the heart that Rajvinder and Noel have been talking about.
Okay, so Abigail is she's been having a teaspoonful of ghee with some herbal tea for the last couple of nights at bedtime, and have slept really well. Is that okay to do for a while? I don't know. Teaspoonful of ghee if you're a very kapha person, that probably wouldn't be advisable. If you're a vata person, go for it. If you're pitta, have a half a teaspoonful, you know. Ghee is there's quite a lot of cholesterol or calories in ghee, so it's very good for vata people. Maybe a little bit less for, a good bit less for kapha people, you know. If you found it works, I don't suppose there's any problem with it. Any ideas?
Is it Abigail Rhodes? I don't
Yeah.
see the questions. Yeah, she's Vata Pitta, so she's fine.
Okay.
I'm not sure what tea is it, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, it seems to be working for her. What herb is good for osteoarthritis? We have a whole webinar on arthritis on our website under webinars. So just lots of herbs probably that can be used as. Dr. Don, do you want to take that one?
Well, I mean, we have the joint soothe herbal, and it's specifically orientated around removing the toxins from the joints and nourishing the joints. So if there is no swelling on the joint, then use the joint soothe oil and apply it twice a day to the joint, and take the 2 tablets twice a day of the joint soothe tablets. But, you know, I think also, you know, have your good regime to balance fat and your digestive regime that you take care of your digestion.
Okay. Rajvinder, I think when Don is speaking, there's some feedback coming through from your speaker. So maybe if you can mute yourself when Don is speaking. It doesn't seem to happen with me, but it seems to be happening with your computer.
Okay,
for some reason.
okay.
But anyway, I think
Okay.
because I noticed when you had it on mute, it didn't happen. So I could be wrong, but let's try it.
It's our energies. It's our energies.
Your energies are clashing, yeah, or they're going together or whatever. Okay, so I have another question on email. This is an interesting one. It's from Malini de Almedia. I think I might have that wrong, but anyway, I have a question if you can answer, because I've already started undergoing TCM, traditional Chinese medicine treatment for low prana in the liver and spleen. Food-wise, I have been asked to take anything. I presume that's I've not been asked to take anything. However, I do not eat meat except lamb rarely, but eat eggs and fish. So I'm not sure if the panel of doctors are able to answer my question. I love Ayurveda because of my own cultural background. My question is, what foods do you recommend to nourish the liver? And in brackets, she has the wood element. Now in Ayurveda, it'd be the fire element, and the spleen in brackets, the earth element, and which ones to avoid, and also what nuts and dried food and spices are recommended. So foods for the liver and the spleen. So if anyone wants to, Dr. Tritelli, is your microphone working again? No, you can't hear anything. You're on mute.
You're on mute. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Can you hear me now?
That's
I can hear
good.
you fine now. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. So the question was for liver and spleen.
yeah.
Okay.
That in Chinese traditional medicine, the liver seems to be the wood element, which I take it would be the earth element. In Ayurveda, I presume it would be the fire element, really. And the spleen, I'm not sure. The spleen here is the earth element. I'm not sure in Ayurveda which dosha that's related to. But anyway.
She just said the Chinese doctor said she'd low energy in the liver and spleen.
Treatment for low prana.
Low
in
energy in the liver and
yeah.
spleen.
So, any ideas, Dr. Cicchelli?
Is she frozen?
She's frozen. Okay. Well, leafy greens for your liver anyway, and liver care syrup as well would be ones. And Dr. Ridvinder, do you want to take it?
Yes, lots of food for liver.
Yeah.
Like we are talking about bitters all the time. So bitters in the seasonal, like fennel bulbs now coming into the season would be great to introduce, both good for liver and spleen. And the plums are very good, and the seasonal fruits will be good. Dandelion, nettles. So dandelion is coming into your garden, so you can take a few leaves of dandelion. And the sticky backs, which is clever thing. Sticky back is also a weed in your garden or sides of roads. So take a few leaves of sticky backs and dandelion, steep in water and drink that water. That's good. And the other bitters like pak choi, chards, fenugreek in Ayurveda, fenugreek seeds in your cooking, or you can soak fenugreek seed overnight, drink that in the morning. Fenugreek you can grow in your in a pot indoor or outside into, if you can cover it, the polytunnel. And you can also buy dry fenugreek. That's how we use fenugreek throughout the year. Dry fenugreek leaves and put into your cooking. Mustard leaves and dark spinach actually, which is available in the Asian stores. If you have access to Asian store, I suggest the bottle gourd, ash gourd. They're very good. Bottle gourd it's like a courgette, but it is pistachio color. And ash gourd is quite a pricey one. It's in some of our herbal preparation, but it is worth buying it and even juice it with the Indian gooseberry, amla. If you have access to the Indian store. If you don't have access to the Indian store, then parsley is very good. Juicing parsley with a bit of celery or cooking with the parsley, celery is good as well. And then for spleen, as you said, in the Chinese medicine is connected to the earth element. So that's the heaviness in your body. You're saying low prana, low chi, which means you're feeling either a lot of stiffness, inflammation in your body. And that could be like too much of pitta kapha going on, because we connect in Ayurveda liver with pitta and spleen with kapha energy. So you might benefit from a liquid day. Just practice one day in a week where you just eat liquid. As I said, celery shot in the morning with ginger will be very good as well for spleen. And then you have khichdi, which is moong dal cooked with some rice, and you have dark leafy spinach or parsley in it. And then evening as well, lemongrass is good as well. Lemongrass, carrot soup, beetroot, something like that.
Okay, very good. So lots of information there. Annie says, what's the Ayurvedic view on regular intermittent fasting? 16-8. So I presume that's 16 hours of fasting and 8
8
hours
hours.
where you eat.
Sounds a great idea. Absolutely a great idea. Because we were evolved in situations where we feasted and fasted. And so we may have had a big meal, but we might not have eaten again for a day or two. But however, the body therefore has two energy sources. One is the carbohydrates, which is the quick energy that we're using from meal to meal. But the other source is fat. And it's actually very good for our bodies to work off fat for sometimes, especially for our brain. And that's the idea, that there's 16 hours of fasting means that we've used up all the carbohydrates, and we then have to start to use our stored fats as energy source. It's a different whole chemistry in the cells, and it's very, very good for them. And it's very good for the brain. With our perspective, we always think in terms of Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. And if someone is Vata in a Vata time of life, they might have to be a little bit more careful, and they would want to be listening to their own body and appetite. And if they have hunger more frequently, they should listen to their bodies. But in the main, it's probably a very good idea for most people, especially younger people and people who are of Pitta and Kapha, because the Pittas can just about survive and have a really big lunch, and that will keep them okay. But the Vatas might need a bit of breakfast.
Okay. Yeah, well, a lot of people are doing that nowadays, and really, like, we're on the detox at the moment, and I think we're nearly 16 hours without eating. Well, we might have some honey and lemon, you know, but probably one day a week is definitely a good thing to do, and it seems to be becoming quite popular. Magno says, what is good at preventing hair loss, and what do you think of hair transplants? Rajvinder, hair loss? It's more really probably related to men, but you've had some experience with ladies as well with hair loss.
Yeah, because hair and nails are byproducts of our bones, and bones are kind of related to Vata. So if you are a Vata person and maybe have a low bone density, then hair growth is a little bit issue. That's how we look in Ayurveda, unless it's a hormonal issue as well. So we kind of give a Vata balancing regime, again, massage, proper oiling your hair. I'm sure we still have in stock Vata hair oil is very good, which has one particular herb, Bringaraj. Bringaraj is connected to hair growth. And our formula, Healthy Hair Nail, MA953, is very good, a very good result with it. So I recommend that. And plus other mineral therapy, like you might have to look into boron or selenium or silica, zinc. They're also kind of needed for bone growth as well. And biotin is also very good. So yeah, so there will be other supplement recommended with the hair and nail formula.
Okay.
Make sure you don't use any chemical shampoo or hair colors and stuff like that. That's also need to be considered. Hair transplant, if you have got to that stage and for cosmetic purpose, yeah, might be you can get some good results. First, give it a try. Try to resolve it naturally. If it doesn't work, then yeah.
Okay, and Pamela Quinn is saying, any advice for achy legs apart from massage, warm baths, Epsom salts, any herbal or dietary advice? Well, you have a lot of good advice there, really, but obviously you're doing those things and you still have them. So
Pamela is doing the detox.
Pamela's doing the detox. So I don't know whether this just came out with the detox, Pamela, or whether it's something you regularly experience, because I can tell you every bone in my body was aching when I started the detox, not just my legs, but after a day or two, it all went away. So anyway, if it's a continual problem, Don, any ideas for?
Well, the first thing is it can be a circulatory thing, whereas people's length of walking becomes limited because increasing pains in the muscles because they can't get the circulation through to the muscles. So that's a situation for a consultation with their doctors. But if it's just an achy thing, you get up in the morning with aching legs, it does sound like the muscles are aching. So if it can be that there's more vata in the muscles, and the vata regime, like your massages and your hot baths are good, and your lifestyle that reduces vata. And then foods like whole grain and milk and ghee and nuts and proteins, plant-based is better. And then herbs like ashwagandha and bala and amla would be useful. There's a dashmul oil. Have you got that, Noel?
Yeah, we have dashmul oil, and then maybe Pamela even has it because it came up in conversation there a while back. But yeah, no, we do have dashmul oil. Yeah, for sure.
You should try the dashmul oil, massage twice a day.
Okay, okay. We've dashmul oil and we've dashmul powder, but we do have it in oil format as well. So Ursula is saying, what is the Ayurvedic view on raw ceremonial grade cacao, taken pure with water and no sugar added? Thank you. So we had a discussion about chocolate the other day, and you know, I think Dr. Rajvinder's advice was, you know, a lot of the commercial chocolate nowadays, it's got all sorts of stuff in it, you know. So the higher the grade of cacao in it, or the higher the percentage of cacao in it, the better, you know. But I mean, cacao is like, it's a sacred nearly ingredient, you know, that's been used for thousands of years. I actually, when I was in Mexico last year, I saw the tree where it grows on, you know, where they actually harvest it, and the little seeds on the inside of it. But so I don't know, Rajvinder, do you want to say anything about that? I'm not sure what you're taking it for, or what you know, if there's anything you'd be expecting from it. But so
Yeah, it's fine for ceremonial purpose, absolutely, but don't take it regularly. Anything Ayurveda is, we say, moderation. It's quite bitter. It's a strong bitter as well. So if you're a Vata person, it is a big stimulant for you, even though it doesn't have caffeine in it, but it still be very stimulating for Vata people. And it will be heating, it will be warming, so Pitta can't overdo it either. So yeah, it's probably Kapha will be happy to hear. It'll be good for them because it is warming and it is drying and it is like shrinking the tissues. So it is good for weight loss and for that purpose. So probably for ceremonial purpose, it gave that, clear that energy and gave that kind of a positivity, but for long term, not for regular purpose.
But someone told me now that if you buy dark chocolate that has a high cacao content, you're unlikely to eat the whole bar. Okay, you're going to be satisfied with a square or so. Whereas if you buy some of the commercial chocolate bars, the chances are you're just going to eat the whole bar. You know,
So the cacao is antioxidant, like small amount of coffee or wine that's antioxidant. So it will be very filling because it's quite bitter. You can't actually eat whole bar and the commercial chocolate would have sugar and milk solid that make it addictive and palatable. So that's why people go for bar of chocolate over dark chocolate.
So you're probably better off going for the chocolate with cacao in it, but just taking a square or two rather than the.
But the person is talking about the ceremonial cacao. What they do in a shamanic tradition, they do cacao ceremony where they give people a cacao shot. It's just the cacao powder mixed in the water. That's all.
Okay. Well, I presume for the ceremony, it's probably okay. Yeah, you wouldn't be doing that every day. So this is from Mary Byrne. I've developed infection in the vein from Candida, but the doctors don't seem to think I need an antibiotic unless it spreads. It's a high red swollen lump on the arm. Is this called phlebitis? And is it possible that it may travel through veins?
Don't worry, Mary. No, it's not going to travel through the veins. The likelihood is there's just a little bit of local damage from the cannula, and your body is mounting its normal inflammation to start the processes of healing. And so it gives you that red swollen lump. And I wouldn't call it phlebitis as such, because that's an inflammation in the veins themselves. And the doctors are right, because it's only an infection if it starts to spread out from there into the other tissues, and then it would warrant an antibiotic. But that's not going to happen. It'll just settle down and heal itself in the next week. I don't know, something like aloe vera gel, because it soothes the pitta, might soothe the inflammation somewhat.
Okay, I think Mary was in hospital the last time we were talking, if I have the right Mary. I'm not too sure. Hopefully you're out of hospital, Mary, or maybe I have the wrong person altogether, but I seem to think that there was a Mary Byrne that was in hospital, you know.
And there's a question about someone scheduled to get a stent in the
That's
heart.
the next one, yeah. I was going to pass that over to you, Don. Yeah, someone
would
scheduled to
it-
get a stent in the heart. Would it be advisable to do detox before or after the procedure, or anything to consider in terms of timing? It's from
Yes.
iPhone DF.
Well, iPhone DF, I would suggest strongly you do a detox. I would do it even before the procedure, because you'll have the benefit of it then in the procedure and after the procedure. So what I would tend to do is just have one big meal in the middle of the day and go with lemon and honey and warm water for the morning and meal and the evening meal. So just one meal a day, but the lemon and honey are very cleansing, and take them instead of breakfast, instead of the evening meal, and do that for as many days as are comfortable, coming up to it, 3, 5, 7, even 10 days, depending on if you're Vata, Pitta, Kapha. If you're Kapha, it'll be easy to do it for longer. But, you know, when you start to feel a little bit void or empty with it, you stop it. You might feel a little bit achy or stiff on day 2 or 3, and then it passes and you feel quite good. And so long as you're feeling quite good, I would continue just with that one meal for, you know, so something like that for the week before, and then have the stent. And just, it's a very simple procedure nowadays, so it's nothing to worry about. You go in, and some places let you out that evening, some places hold on to you overnight, just to keep an eye on you. So I wouldn't be too worried about the procedure. It's a fantastic procedure in that it eliminates what could otherwise be a major problem. So yeah, the little bit of detox I'd suggest would be good.
So Pamela Quinn, any advice how to start TM, where to learn about it, etc.? It depends on what country you're in, Pamela. If you're in Ireland, tm-ireland.org, I think, or .ie. Just tm-ireland, either try .ie or .org. There's lots of teachers all over the country. So you just go do an introductory talk, and then once you've done the talk, you can decide to learn, and they'll teach you. It's a 4-day course with complete follow-up, so well worth doing. In the UK, it's uk.tm.org, or just Google Transcendental Meditation.
tm-uk.org.
tm-uk.org. But be very sure you get a legitimate transcendental meditation teacher, a registered transcendental meditation teacher, because there are people that kind of outside of the TM organization, that so like anybody can say they're a TM teacher. So just be sure that you're with an official teacher if you're doing it, you know. And Marda says, is it possible to cure Crohn with Ayurveda being an immune system disease? Could flora bacteria be related to Crohn? Something recommended to avoid pylori for second time. So I know, Don, you've had some good experiences with Crohn disease. I'm not too sure about pylori. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that right, if you're familiar with it.
Pylori, Helicobacter.
I think it's the Helicobacter is more related to the stomach ulcers, whereas the Crohn's is much more conditioned in the colon and lower intestine, and it's a lot of inflammation. So it's often a pitta type of problem, and yes, it's a strange one actually, because the doctors don't seem to think that the foods you eat are that relevant or important, whereas in Ayurveda it would be considered medicine. And so yeah, having a good Ayurvedic assessment and advice would be, I think, very useful with Crohn's.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we have had some success with Crohn's disease, you know, so, but it is a serious issue, so you probably do need a. So there's the website for the, thanks Alison, for the TM organization. So if you stick with that website, Pamela, if you're in the UK, maybe you're in Ireland, if you stick with that website, then you'll definitely get a legitimate teacher of TM. I love extra TM when traveling. Yeah, I feel TM is #1 in Ayurveda. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think Dr. Brennan would agree with that as well. Elaine, hello, I'm a Vata type and don't like the cold. Well, Vatas don't like the cold. But what about the health advice for cold plunges, etc.? Does this not suit a Vata type of person, or should I go outside my comfort zone and do it? Yeah, good question. Good question. probably we'll all have varying opinions on that, but you definitely shouldn't get cold for too long if you're a Vata type. But if you find it very, very disturbing, then it's possibly better not to do it. But at the same time, it is good to take yourself out of your comfort zone for a short while every now and then. And I take Dr. Brennan swimming every now and then, and he's got a bit of Vata in him as well. And I'm Pitta, so I don't get as affected by the cold water as much as Dr. Brennan does. But I mean, the last time I took him, he didn't talk to me for a while afterwards. But Don, what's your recommendation on it?
Yeah, I read all the health advice, and I think, you know, and also there's a lot of research now going on in relation to aging and how putting ourselves outside our comfort zone can have a powerful good benefit in terms of aging. And there's research like from Finland, where they take a lot of saunas and then jump into the cold water and have very good health outcomes from that sort of thing. But I think that Ayurveda is just much more personalized and therefore more interesting, because definitely I think the Pittas should actually have the cold plunges, and I really encourage them. We'll give Noel a shove into the cold. But when I've done it, I've started to get Raynaud's phenomena, where the circulation to my fingers just completely cuts off. And both the discomfort of it and the fact that it takes me a long time to recover when I do it, and now this phenomena has convinced me that it's obviously not something good for Vata or good for me. And that I would say, if you're a very Vata type, don't push yourself too hard to have the cold plunges.
Yeah, just be self-referral on the thing. Like, I mean, there's no point in doing something that you completely and absolutely hate and feel horrible about it afterwards because someone told you it's good for your health, you know?
Even if Noel is pushing you.
Yeah, so do it, and if you feel great afterwards. A lot of people feel absolutely brilliant after cold swimming, like I do. I love it after cold swimming. I mean, difficult getting in, and Rajvinder is very good at getting into cold water as well. So, but if you don't feel that way afterwards, then it's just probably not worth doing, you know. So Maureen says, do insurance companies
studies say hot sauna and then the cold. I've seen in the gym here, you get the hot sauna and then there's ice to rub on and there's a bucket hanging to put the cold water. And that's doable, actually, after coming out of the sauna.
Well, it's actually more doable than just getting into the cold sea. If you're out of a sauna, you kind of, they used to have plunge pools you could jump into and stuff like that. And then you go straight back into the sauna, yeah? It's like cheating a bit, really, you know? Do insurance companies in Ireland accept claims for Ayurveda intervention? You'd have to check with your individual insurance company. We don't make any claims, or we don't get involved in anything to do with insurance whatsoever. We just issue a receipt if somebody wants it, and then they can take it to their insurance company, and then so they can either do it or not, but we don't get involved in that at all. But you'd have to check with I know a lot of the insurance companies are broadening out what they're allowing people to do. So just check with them and see what the situation is. And what do the doctors think of the WHO benchmark for Ayurvedic practitioners? Well, Dr. Brennan has looked at that in depth, so I'll let him answer that.
Yeah, WHO has worked with the Indian government in terms of establishing international standards for practice of Ayurveda. And the Indian government have brought out a series of courses that they would recommend, you know, at different levels of Ayurvedic practice, whether you're a full Ayurvedic practitioner or whether you're, you know, sort of a health advisor or whether you were technicianing. So it is good that these standards are being established, and eventually, hopefully, they will be monitored, and those that are of the highest standards will have certification from perhaps universities in India or the Indian Ayush, the Department of Ayurveda in the Indian government. So that's all to the good, slowly evolving.
So next question is, what can one do to reduce cholesterol? From Leisha Gaffney.
Oh, Leisha.
Yeah.
Leisha, there's loads you can do, Leisha. Cholesterol. your body creates cholesterol and creates it for a purpose. All your steroid hormones are made of cholesterol, so it's a very normal, natural thing. It's that the proportion of the good and the bad cholesterol can go awry, particularly with our diets. But plenty of fibrous foods like sweet potatoes and apples and oats, because your liver is your detox organ. It gets rid of all the bad fats out of your body into your gut. And if you don't eat the right fiber in your diet, then you reabsorb the bad fats. But if you have the right fiber, then the bad fats are absorbed into the fiber and pass out of you with a bowel motion. So it's very important that you have a good high fiber diet. That turmeric and fenugreek are great spices that help your body cope with fat, well in the body. And you've the garlic family are very good as well in relation to cholesterol. So there's a lot of dietary ways of benefiting your cholesterol, as well as giving up on the bad fats in your diet, the trans fats in the bad oils in the supermarket. Use good oils for cooking, like your ghee, the sugar is I think the real evil one, because sugar excess in your body is transformed into very bad fats. And so I would say be more concerned about having a lot of processed foods and a lot of sugar in your diet, and cut back on that. And then plenty of fiber, lots of the spices, but the fenugreek and turmeric are good. And get your exercise, because it's a fatty calf problem. So a bit of exercise helps as well.
Okay, and as always, I will come in and say that you want to be sure that you really need to reduce your cholesterol level, and I'd advise you to read the book called The Great Cholesterol Con by a Scottish doctor, Dr. McKitterick, and you might decide after that your cholesterol isn't an issue for you, and maybe it's more to do with sugars and things like that like Dr. Brennan spoke about. Also, if you're really, really determined to reduce your cholesterol, then red rice yeast is a product that is used. It's actually where statins come from. It's where where they found statins. So it's called red rice yeast. We sell it, or you can get it in a health food store either, and it's quite good at reducing cholesterol. Noel, there is background noise. I think we've solved that problem actually, Francis, hopefully, when Rajvinder mutes, when the energies are clashing there. So Elaine says, do you have any tips for sugar craving? Trying to overhaul my diet, but sugar craving, chocolate cravings are very bad. So Rajvinder, I'll let you answer that one.
There is a debate going on at the end of the questions that we should abandon it from our life, and they're sharing the email. So hopefully that worked for you, Elaine. So abandon it. If you are one of the person, it's like either little or like it's all or none. So then it's better to abandon from your life for some time. And the sugar, you need to look, why are you craving sugar? People crave sugar sometimes because of boredom, sometimes because of overwork, they're stressed, they're working, they're not sleeping very well. And in Ayurveda, we always say eat your main meal in the middle of the day. That's a big cause for sugar craving, because you need fuel for your body to run. And mostly people just eat chocolate or sandwich or coffee, and they eat a meal in the evening then. And that is kind of increase the vata. And then of course your mind is gonna looking for sugar, because you're running on sugar then, and you become addicted to it. So you need to reflect on that, what's going on in your life. Is it emotional, or is it kind of more, lots of sugar is emotional eating. And I had a lady yesterday, she's a nurse, and she said she was working non-stop and she was eating a lot of sugar because she was doing a lot of night shifts as well. And so she had to change her job and gradually improving diet. So night shifts and all that kind of affect your metabolism. So you need to look what's going on. There's no simple answer to that. So if there's a stress, you need to manage the stress better. You need to distract. It's hard in the evening when people come home from a busy day, then we crave things, or it's just maybe rewarding for the full day of hard work, then say, okay, I deserve a bit of pampering or a bit of sugar or crisps or something like that. So maybe not get into that attitude and have a good dinner and if possible, either make a cacao drink where you put a bit of cacao into the oat milk, and you can put tiny bit of coconut sugar just to sweeten your taste bud, but because oat milk is very sweet and on its own, or coconut milk is very sweet. So I find that help people, or golden milk is good. Make sure you're eating, and maybe small and regular portions of food might help you, and keep yourself distracted. Go for a walk, have a good routine. Make sure you're not the one who is going to the bed midnight and surfing online. That's a big reason as well. So there's a lot of different reasons, and as I said, you can add some bitters so that you balance that sweetness in your blood, and the bitters will help slowly take you off the sugar. So it's a process. It's a process that you have to reflect on it and slowly stay strong, and try not to. You can replace it with dark chocolate, as Noel said, but again, if you are someone who need the whole bar or something, then that may not work for you either. So then, yeah, you have to just don't buy it for some time, and you'll be going around the house looking for it, and eventually you're not going to find it and might give up. And keep some raisins, sultanas, apricots, dates, and then at least you can approach that, and that is good enough to satisfy your taste bud, and you start liking it.
Okay, and I think the detoxes are a great thing to do as well, because they train you into to avoid those things as well, and they give you strength as well. I mean, that's basically what it is. You need strength, you need determination, and you need strength to do that, and you know that's not an easy thing to get either. You know. So Abigail says
on the detox, Noel, if I add, he lost 1 stone, and he was craving for sugar for his first 2-3 days, and he said he just went out in the garden and worked, and then came in for his lunch, and that's how he kept the sugar out. So distraction really, and just effortlessly lost 1 stone in 7 days, which is
that's
huge.
George. Yeah, it was amazing. He was on the other day, and he's he got on well with it. He lost a stone weight in a week, which is incredible, really incredible. So Abigail says, I've been doing a sesame oil seed foot massage at night, but it's making my toes hot. The day after. Okay, sorry. I've stopped putting the oil on my toes, and my sleep is better, but my toes are still hot. Is it toxins coming out during the night? Will it calm down if I keep doing it? I'm not too sure. I've stopped putting oil on the toes, but I assume you're still massaging the feet, just not the toes. And my sleep is better, but my toes are still hot.
So I'd suggest ghee, no?
Ghee.
So ghee settles pitta. Sesame oil is quite heating in its base, but ghee is very good for sleep to do a foot massage with at night time.
Okay, so ghee is your answer there. That's very good, Don. I didn't think of that. I should have thought of that, but I didn't think of that. So where do you advise I go to treat whiplash? Oh, God.
I'd advise that you do everything to settle Vata, that you do your regular oil massages, and particularly applying oil into the area. And there again, you may have the Dashmul oil from Noel as a specific oil. And then I would consider craniosacral treatment, because it's very delicate touch that the craniosacral experts have. And it takes 2 or 3 sessions before you realize what benefit they're doing for you, but it may take a course of 4 or 5 sessions. But that's where I would tend to refer people for that.
Okay. So my son has acne on his back. Is there any remedies I could try for him? Thank you. Tricky one. Bridgevinder?
Sorry, say that again.
Acne on the back, or Anne's son has acne on his back.
Okay. The simple remedy I use for acne is radiant skin. You start that, but make sure he's not eating sugar. His diet is good. Fried food. If kids, it's hard. They like burgers, pizzas, fries, and stuff like that. So you might have to kind of, if you can reduce it, and he can start drinking coconut water, because in the springtime and summertime is bad for acne and skin conditions. So cooling. Teenagers are high pitta, so they need to be. Not sure if he's into alcohol or anything. What age is he? So you need to kind of look into that as well. Yeah, so that's so radiant skin.
MA926 is radiant skin.
Even you can crush the tablet and mix it with rose water and apply on the skin as a mask, or you can get neem powder and mix with the rose powder and apply on the skin. That will help.
Okay, okay. It depends. Yeah, it can be very difficult to get teenagers. I'm not sure if he's a teenager or not, but it can be difficult to get them to, you know, especially if he's of drinking age. He mightn't want to stay. He might be happy to keep the acne on his back and keep drinking, you know. So it's just, but hopefully it's something that will go away anyway. Just hopefully, you know, it'll hopefully just go away. But there's some things he could try anyway. So Zana says, my elderly parent is for years on blood thinning medication due to high blood pressure. Weak heart, has a pacemaker. Is there an Ayurvedic remedy to be taken instead? So the person has a weak heart and is on blood thinners due to high blood pressure.
Blood thinners, there would be different tablets for blood pressure. Blood thinners are thinning the blood, and they're generally, people with heart problems are put on them because they're at risk of stroke. And if it is a blood thinner that they're on, they mustn't stop it.
Okay, so they mustn't stop it, but that's but they're not on blood thinners due to high blood pressure, Don. You don't think? No. Okay.
They'd be on blood pressure tablets for blood pressure.
Okay.
Blood thinners thin the blood and prevent it clotting, and it can clot in some conditions with the heart.
Okay. I'm just after losing where I am.
Somebody's asking about what curry powder did I use in the flask lunch, and I used this curry powder, which is a combination of turmeric, coriander, cumin, fenugreek seeds, paprika, yellow mustard seeds, basil, fennel, ginger, garlic, oregano, rosemary, thyme, sage. But there was also a suggestion of using churnas, and definitely you could. And the beauty of the flask lunches, you can play around with it and find your own flavors and tastes that please you more.
What's that brand, Dr. Brandon? I'll type it in.
It's SOLLENTOFT curry powder. SOLLENT, TOR. It's a capital R.
Can you pronounce that?
Sollentar.
Okay.
And I got it in the food co-op over in Kilmainham.
Okay. So we skipped the question there. So Neela says, can you please let me know what I can do for hot flushes and menopause? Did we do a webinar on the menopause?
I think we did, know.
Yeah, so there's definitely a webinar there. There's a great book called Ageless Woman by Nancy Lonsdorf about the menopause, and hot flushes, MA1815. A friend of mine, she was suffering from hot flushes, and I gave her some of that Ayurvedic medicine. She couldn't believe how good it was, you know. But maybe some, Redfinder, do you have any other advice for Neela?
Yeah, MA1815 is a good remedy, menopause temperature balance to start with.
Yeah.
And the primrose oil is also good in the menopause age to start primrose oil. And Shatavari, Shatavari is very good. So you can either start Shatavari capsule, Shatavari powder, so those things.
Okay, so I was right about Mary Byrne, and she's actually still in hospital. So sorry to hear that, Mary, because it's a good while since we were talking to you. Regina and Don's answered that. Food flask, you could always use churnas, that's true. Can you give me suggestions for both lower lungs?
Atelectasis means the lungs have collapsed because there's been a lot of lung infections. Well, I think, you know, a lot of these questions are sort of striking me that people should be thinking of consultations, because there are complicated situations that require a bit more investigation. Generally, the kapha situation is the lungs. The lungs are kapha part of the body, and often it can be kapha problems that give rise to all these infections, or it could be pitta problems. So that's where consultation comes in. And atelectasis, that the lungs have collapsed. I think, you know, your diet is going to be very important. It would be very useful to use Tricketu after meals twice a day with honey.
Holy basil?
Oh yes, holy basil. And if you have a significant health problem there, consultation is worth thinking.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make. This Q&A, like it's just a general Q&A to show, you know, about different Ayurvedic knowledge and the fact that Ayurveda has an approach to everything, but nobody really should be using this as their last resort for a serious medical condition. You know, if you have something serious, which obviously that is, then definitely a consultation with an Ayurvedic, one of our doctors, for an initial consultation takes an hour. So you're really going in depth, and Ayurveda is always personalized. It's always, the doctor is looking to see, is this person a Vata person, if they're a Pitta person, if they're a Kapha person, and the experienced doctor can tell that the minute they meet the person, you know. So then everything is going to be tailored to that, and they'll be asking you questions, and then so the whole thing will be tailored specifically to you. So as opposed to like a 2-minute answer on a Q&A, you know, it's a 1 hour thing where a whole program is put together for you. So if there is serious conditions, that definitely, and you feel that the Ayurvedic approach is something you're interested in, obviously you have to think in that way, but if you feel it's something that you're interested in, then definitely consider having a consultation, you know. Leisha has put in the TM UK website again there. Rajvinder, could you look maybe the Irish one as well? Because I think Pamela is actually from Ireland. I think it's tm-ireland.ie, but maybe you could check that, you know. So a Zoom user says how to support the thyroid gland. Again, we have a whole webinar that Dr. Brennan did on the thyroid, and that can be bought on our website under webinars. But MA3697, I'm thinking. But Don, any general things for the thyroid?
That's a good herbal. Well, it depends, because it could be an overactive thyroid, it could be an underactive thyroid, it could be an autoimmune condition. So again, it's a difficult one. Again, the consultation is a better idea. Look at the seminar online is the best start.
Yeah, because it goes through all the different types of thyroid problems, you know. Emer Kerwin says, what about cold swimming for Kapha? Kaphas are cold anyway, and they're but they could do with the stimulation as well. So again, just be self-referral about it, you know. If
I think the swimming is a great idea, because the exercise, any exercise for Kapha is going to be good.
Yeah.
You know, done with a little bit of effort can be warming, you know, can warm you up, but probably not in the winter, because the winter is Kapha season. For a Kapha person, it's going to be too cold. But certainly through the summer and into the autumn, I would think Kapha would benefit.
Yeah, and you know, one thing swimming will do is it'll stimulate your mind, that's for sure. So any dullness or anything like that will be gotten rid of, especially if the water's cold. So that would be good for a Kapha person. Mary,
bring a flask of tea with you, herbal tea or something, or a warm thing to cover afterwards.
So a flask of tea afterwards when you're back on the beach. So Joan says, I had surgery for broken tibula plateau last July and had reconstruction and titanium plate and screws, which will remain in place. I'm still on recovery, and while it's improving, it's swelling when walking or standing on it for longer periods. Any advice on this? So yeah, there's lots of herbs for bones. Rajinder?
Yeah, so CalcioCare, MA925, yeah, to start with. And then is the plaster is off now?
Yeah, it's a screw. Yeah. It's a screw, a titanium plate screw that's in place now.
Okay, so just the CalcioCare for the moment. I was thinking for a massage, but if the plate is in, we leave that. Just a gentle kind of application of oil so that the muscles around stay soft. So that's, and then slowly getting into the movement. I'm sure you have your exercises from physio. I actually didn't get the question fully right.
I would say that the bones are about the tissue, and that you can nourish your bones with very nourishing foods as well, and things like milk and beans and healthy fats, good spices. Again, the joint seed oil, would that be beneficial? If there's not too much swelling, when it's not swollen, apply the joint seed oil.
And look, just a gentle application.
Yeah.
Okay. And Alison just has some comments there about the cold swimming that people can read if they want. Anne says, have you any advice for very dry hair and breaking, maybe oils, etc.? So dry hair would tend to be a Vata thing, you know, that dryness. So we have a Vata hair oil that you could use specifically for Vata people. And Rajvinder, you're an expert on hair.
Yeah, Vata hair oil is very good. Make sure the shampoo you use is not very drying. It's good at least half an hour before you wash your hair to kind of put oil. Warm oil is better. It absorbs better. And you can give it a rinse with apple cider, because sometimes the scalp health as well, the dryness is coming. So you just put a kind of a cup of a tablespoon, let's say, into a mug of 100 ml water, and then just after shampoo, just put it on your hair and rinse it off, and that helps to increase the flora, the good bacteria on your scalp, and that slowly improve the health and the oiling.
And there's a Vata shampoo is there as well, which won't be too drying, you know. So Vata hair oil and Vata shampoo. Well, Roberta broke her ankle 8 weeks ago.
I think the advice we gave for the plating, you know, the calcium care and all of that is going to answer that question.
Okay, for Roberta as well. So the same advice, Roberta, and sorry to hear that. I didn't know that had happened to you. Alicia says, thank you. Roberta Shield says, St. John's Wort tincture and St. John's Wort. So she must be taking that as well. Okay. Gillian says, resuggestion to massage the sole of child's foot to help with induced sleep. Which oil would be best for this?
Ghee.
Ghee. Okay, ghee.
If the child doesn't like the ghee, then Vata massage oil.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where's the mother?
Yeah, ghee might be. Or some essential oil, like I'm not sure which essential oil is in stock. Vata aroma oil even is good, with a little bit of sesame oil. Or there is a sweet sleep, which is a very nice oil, but I'm not sure if it's in stock or not.
Yeah, we have that. Yeah, actually, we don't have many. I think we maybe just have one, but we do have more ordered in from India, so that should be here in about a month, you know. So Elaine says that you got her down to a T, Raj. Late night scrolling, rewarding myself after a long day, emotional, addictive eating. I never think of eating when I'm active, distracted. It's when I'm home with my children in the afternoon that I start to snack. I never thought about eating bitter foods. I will look into that. Thank you. Okay, so that's something to try. We've covered that. So Neela says, thanks. What is it called? I'm not too sure what that's referring to.
I answered to that.
Yeah, MA1815, menopause temperature balance. The curry brand is okay. So you've been typing in answers, and that's what I'm getting down to now. I hear Dr. Brennan saying that the blood thinners are prescribed for blood clots, but didn't understand that there is an Ayurvedic remedy for that instead. I'm sorry, it was very fast spoken and I didn't understand it fully. Many thanks. So Zana, Dr. Brennan was saying that if your parent is on blood thinners, then they need to stay on the blood thinners. Basically, was the answer to that question. Is that correct? Would that be your interpretation?
That's it. Yeah, thanks, Noel.
Okay, so Alison said she'd never heard of Solentor, so thanks for asking the question. It's actually Sonentor. Okay, to everyone. tmireland.org, that's for Pamela, who is interested in learning TM. It could be a hyphen rather than an underscore, but anyway, please can you share your website? Our website is ayurveda.ie. Raj, will you just type that in?
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's ahead of me. So Alison, I think, is just talking to Elaine there, chewing on mint or basil leaves, sipping hot water. Sorry, Noel, I have to leave the meeting. Thanks so much, Noel and Dr. Brennan, for answering my question. I will catch up with, I'm learning more every day. Thank you. Bye for now. tm-ireland.org. So that's Susan. So that's for Pamela again. I just looked at the website, so I'll still take it. I don't remember the right name. Yes, doing physio. These are just answers to questions. Cheers. Thanks so much for the doctors and a great session. Yeah, we're getting to the end of it now. Thanks in particular advice on whiplash. Would you write the name of the oil that you advise using, please, as I'm not familiar. I think it was Dashmool oil.
Yeah, I just put it in, Noel.
Just put it in ahead of me. Zana says, thank you. If you're a Vata Pitta dosha, is it okay to have more of the large beans in the spring in the spring? Does the energy of spring help Vata to digest better bigger beans instead of just lentils and split mung? So bigger beans.
Yeah, coming into mid-spring, coming in early spring is a lot of kapha, so avoid heavy food. But coming into mid-spring, as a Vata, you might be able to digest the beans, brown bean stuff, the seasonal stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so we have a new question here. Tamara, what helps with mercury toxicity? Dr. Brennan.
The best thing for clearing metal toxins from your body is through perspiration, through the skin. So I'd suggest saunas for that. Coriander is a very good spice for helping clear toxins as well. So I would regularly take a lot of coriander seeds and leaves. I would be thinking in terms of a panchakarma, really, because I think the Inamata, the Basti treatments could be most useful for that as well. If there's a problem with teeth and mercury fillings, I think you have to see a dentist who specializes in removing them, because the removal of them can be problematic, because the vapor from them that you're inhaling can cause you to ingest even more mercury, but they have great suction strategies that prevent that. So don't know what else to say. Hope that's helpful.
Okay, so chelating, is that what it's called?
Chelating, yeah.
Yeah, to get the heavy metals out of your system. Okay, so we'll do one more question because we're just right at the edge here. So Ali says, are headaches usually related to tension? Thanks so much for such generous sharing of information on Ayurveda. I'd say they definitely can be related to tension, and in a lot of cases they would be, but there may be other reasons for them as well. But I do know that when people learn transcendental meditation, it does have a huge benefit for people who suffer from migraine. I'm not saying everybody, but it's my experience that it's had a lot of benefits for people. So that would clearly indicate that the TM is getting rid of a lot of tension in the person's life. And as a result of that, the headaches are not coming through as strongly or at all. I have to say that was my case. I used to get migraine when I was younger, in my 20s. And when I learned TM, they literally just disappeared. So they had to be tension related. But there may be other reasons for headaches as well.
Too much getting the eyes checked, because eye strain can cause headaches. Yeah. Could be sinus troubles. So the nasal drops could be helpful if it was that. But some people with blood pressure get headaches. So it's worth, if it's recent, get it checked out. If it's a chronic thing, then just find the various strategies that help.
Old neck injuries or neck strain or anything like that.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Or too much beer. That's another one.
Whoa.
Okay.
How did you think it home?
Okay, so we're just getting a lot of thank yous. Actually, it was a great session. Related to the trip to India next December, what vaccinations, if any, are necessary? There's no vaccinations necessary to go to India. There's none required. So I just leave that completely up to people to decide for themselves. My advice is go, if you're worried about it, go and see your doctor and take his advice if that's what you want to do. But there's no vaccinations required. There's no compulsory vaccination to go to India. Okay, so that's great. So listen, a big thank you. I don't know if Dr. Chitali is still on. It's a pity your microphone wasn't working. So hopefully we'll have that fixed for the next meeting, because she's lots of great knowledge to give out as well. A big thank you to Dr. Rijvinder for coming on. I know she's very, very busy these days. Lots of things going on. She's looking after all the people on our detox program. I think we have about the busiest WhatsApp group in the world at the moment. There seems to be no end of messages coming through, and Dr. Rijvinder is answering everybody's questions and helping everybody out. Well, they're all supporting themselves as well, from what I can see. But actually, you're okay, Rajendra. There's only 2 chats on to look at.
No, I'm happy because most of people finish their detox, and there are a few who are starting. So it's a lot going on. So it's fine. But people who are finishing their detox, they're very happy. Lots of good results.
No, they're very, very happy. I was reading some of the texts earlier on. People are just feeling absolutely great. There was a little bit of struggle at the beginning of the detox, which there always is, but by the time they've made it through, they're very proud of themselves, and they're absolutely, from what they're saying here, they're feeling great benefit from it. So our next detox will be in the autumn, so people can people can join in with us then in the autumn, you know. And a big thank you to Dr. Brennan, who is, as always, a fount of information and very valuable information. It's great that he has the Western perspective as well as the Ayurvedic perspective. So, okay, lots of messages coming in, but they're all thank yous. So thank you very much, everybody. Jai Guru Dev, I will send out a copy of this recording. Don't forget, our aim here in the Ayurveda Center is to spread this knowledge as far and wide as we can. So if there is a question that come up tonight that you know that somebody might be interested in that, by all means, you can share the video with them. You can encourage them to come on to the next Q&A that we do. And very, very importantly, anybody with any interest in Ayurveda should do the free 7-lesson course that's on our website. Just go to ayurveda.ie. It's the big banner, free 7-lesson course. You just register for it there. And we want everybody that has any interest in Ayurveda to do that course, because it's the foundation. When you've done that course, you realize how powerful Ayurveda is. And it's got all our great doctors doing lectures on different topics there. And it's a very entertaining and knowledgeable course. And you can tell all your friends and family about that course and spread our web address around the place, ayurveda.ie. Noel is off to swim. Well, Alison, unfortunately, I'm on the 5th day of the detox, so there's no swimming for me tonight. So I'll have to leave that till next week.
It's a bit delicate at the moment.
Bit delicate at the moment, which doesn't happen that often. But anyway,
No.
look, I'll just go with it, you know. Okay, everybody, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.